Stream, please.
Started.
All right, well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the resumed hearing for Plan Change 1 for Dunedin City Council's 2GP. And thank you for accommodating me coming in from Zoom and Napier. It's more efficient that way. Just before we hear from our submitters this morning, who are the Port of Otago, Mr. Rawson, anything from the reporting officers team for us this morning?
No, nothing.
All right, thank you very much. All right, well, we might just introduce ourselves to the Port of Otago representatives. My name's Rob van Voorthausen and I'm an Independent Hearings Commissioner, and I'm currently based in Napier where I live. And maybe Jim and Sophie, you'd like to introduce yourselves.
Kia ora, I'm Sophie Barker. I am a City Councillor and accredited RMA Commissioner.
Kia ora, Jim O'Malley, City Councillor and RMA Commissioner.
And maybe just the officers as well. Peter, starting with you.
Peter Rawson, Senior Planner, DCC.
Good morning, I'm Roxanne Davies, Submissions, Hearings and Mediations Coordinator for the DCC.
And then the most important person in the room, Rebecca.
Rebecca Murray, Governor Support.
All right, so good morning, thank you for that. Good morning and welcome to the Port Otago representatives. So we've received pre-circulated evidence from Kate Pascal, which we've read. So Kate, if you're one of the two people I can see at the table, you won't need to reread that evidence out to us because we've read it, but you're very welcome to highlight key points and then we'll see if we have questions for you. But other than that, why don't you introduce yourselves to us and then we'll proceed to hear from you.
Kia ora, Kate Pascal. I'm a planner with GHD and I've been engaged by Port Otago to present evidence of Plan Change 1. To my left, I've got Ms. Dowd, Ms. Joanne Dowd from the Port, who is available to also answer questions specific to the Port's activities and operations that what might be useful for context for yourselves around the particular points of the submission and my evidence. I won't read out my summary, but I will just highlight some of the key matters that remaining kind of unresolved following the reporting office section 42A report. So there's around the high trip generators, those provisions, and I think there it appears from reading the background, the reports and the supporting evidence from the transport expert that the intent is to apply those provisions to anything new or extensions to existing activities, but we just sought some clarification around that, and the amendments I've drafted as part of my evidence support that approach. And I just would like to add that in addition to the provisions I've suggested amendments to, there would also need to be amendments to the rules and assessment criteria in chapters 19, which is the industrial zones, and also chapter 30, the major facility port zone. So just wanted to round that off, and I'm happy to provide something written following today if that is helpful to the panel. And then the other matters were around predominantly the setback requirements for network utilities, and then also noise and vibration matters. So it was useful to see that the officers have recommended some changes there which sort of satisfy some of the port's concerns. There's just some remaining matters of concern around non-complying activity status, which we're happy to speak to.
All right, thank you for that. And Ms. Dowd, did you wish to say anything at this stage?
Good morning. Apologies, I do have a flu, so I'll keep it brief. I haven't prepared a brief of evidence. I would like just to take the opportunity to thank the Commissioner and the committee panel for accommodating us late in the proceeding. But I am here to address any specific questions that you may have in relation to port operations, particularly around the high trip generation. And again, just to understand why we'd be looking for exemptions for the setbacks from utilities.
All right, well, thanks very much for that. Just before I see if the other panel members have questions, Ms. Pascalia, if you think there'd be, should we be minded to accept the relief that you've helpfully included in your Appendix 1 regarding the high trip generators? If you think that would necessitate consequential amendments to chapters 19 and 13, it would be very helpful if you put pen to paper and supplied that drafting to the officers so that they can consider that when they're preparing their reply report. And I might just get Mr. Rawson, could you just outline to the port representatives the work that's underway that was initiated last week between the parties regarding the vibration rules? We had submitters last week talking to us about vibration rules, and there's some conferencing and some further drafting of provisions underway. So Mr. Rawson can explain that to you, and you may wish to become involved in that process. So Peter, can you just outline where things are at with that?
Yes, absolutely. We're actively liaising with the previous submitters who submitted on the vibration rule and their relevant experts. So we'd welcome Port Otago as well. We can liaise with you if that's helpful on the specific wording of the vibration rule, which is, as you know, quite complicated. So there's a number of different changes with it, which are proposed by different appellants, and we're working together with those, trying to reach some agreement.
Yep. And Peter, can you just, for the port representatives, just outline who the experts are who are currently engaged in that process? So I think it's Mr. Exeter from Styles Group, and I can't remember the name of the chap from Marshall Day.
Yes, yes, I can get back to you specifically about that. I'm not personally involved in this, so I'm not quite sure of their names off the top of my head.
No, that's all right. And so to the Port Otago representative, if you'd like to be involved in that process, then you're very welcome to do so, and we would welcome your involvement as well. And you can liaise with the officers about that.
Yes, we would appreciate that opportunity. Thank you.
That's good. All right. Well, let's see if we have questions for either of you. Sophie, any questions?
Thank you, Chair. I have a question around the definition of the high trip generators, and then there's a change that you've suggested around the existing footprint, and in the definition it has 10,000 metres square of gross floor area. Is that across all of the sites that the port has, or how close is it to meeting that 10,000 metre gross floor area?
So Ms. Dowd might be able to provide more context here, but I think I did provide an example of, I think it's the terminal building, which is about over 100,000 square metres. So that 10,000 square metre threshold is very low if we're including existing footprint in that calculation.
Just to maybe add to that, I think at the moment we do have the Dunedin bulk port as well, which is obviously at the head of the harbour, and again we're just looking forward. I know that will be new development, but it's likely that there would be more floor space down in that area in the future, and we do have other little pockets of that we call the pop-up ports. There's one down at Strathallan, and we also have Ravensbourne Road as well, and Sawyers Bay. So we've got warehousing in all of those existing sites.
Okay, Sophie, is that it? Any other questions? Or?
I'll just have a wee pause while Jim goes.
Okay.
Follow that one up. You did mention in your submission that those warehousing sites where you're doing the container storage in different parts, that basically, as far as a high trip generator goes in the area, you're kind of saying that you really don't think that really meets the threshold of what we're trying to attempt here, like that those will be very hard. The public transport component, like being able to be near a public transport component, are you basically asserting that it'd be very hard to operate those things specifically and have to worry about that in terms of the choice of location based on where you've got your ability to do it now?
That's correct, yes. And the consenting process that would need to be followed to demonstrate how that or why that shouldn't apply, I think is also problematic.
sort of got a trip because along to that point to Mr. Ralston, maybe the intent of the high trip generator, if you had something like a hospital or where the actual activity itself is causing a lot of people to go to your site, that's quite different, is it not, than if you are a port where your activity is the port's activity itself and not necessarily the workers. You know what I mean? There's a difference.
Yes. Yes, I do.
Yeah, and that's captured in some of the replies, right, in terms of.
Yes, it is. We're considering all that.
Wonderful, thank you.
All right. Any other questions, Jim?
No, not for now. Just
Okay. And Sophie, anything else?
Oh, just on the high trip generators in Strathallan Street was mentioned, which is a pinch point, I guess. Perhaps this is for staff about when the port expands its activities and it's going to buy another site, does it automatically become a port site, and would it then be exempt from the rules? Do you get what I mean? If it's all put under the port?
Are you talking about locations which are outside the existing port zone?
Yes, well, there was mention of Strathallan Street, I think Sawyers Bay, etc. So I'm just trying to understand, are they in or are they out?
Part of those
properties.
Part of those sites are industrial zones, industrial port zones. So the provisions related to those zones would apply.
Chapter 30, though, which is the port zone.
It's only the port zone and the Port Chalmers.
It's
yes.
just as shown on the map there.
Yes,
right?
as shown on the map. That's correct.
Cool.
Okay. I just got a couple of queries for you, Ms. Pascal, and I'm looking at your Appendix 1. So if you can turn to that, that would be helpful. And my first query is on page 13.
Yes.
Okay, do you see the down the bottom of that table, it's got a reference to the port. It says port and then 10,000 square metres.
Yes.
My query was just around the word port. I see in some of your other track changes, you're looking for expanded wording, such as port activities of Port Chalmers or Dunedin Port or industrial port zones. And so really it's just the query is the single word port sufficient, or should there be an expanded reference there rather than just the one word port?
That's actually a very good point. I think it probably should be expanded to at least port activities. As I understand, there is a definition of port activities in the 2GP, I think that would be useful for clarity and certainty for sure.
Okay, well, given you're going to put pen to paper for us regarding some consequential amendments to chapters 19 and 30, can you give some thought to what might be used instead of that single word port? That'd be great.
Absolutely.
And then just turning the pages here. My next query is on page 18, the very last page of the appendix. And it's in relation to your suggested change to policy 13.2.1.10 and your recommendation that we replace the word insignificant with managed. I'm always in two minds about the use of the word managed. I know it's used a lot, but to me it doesn't, if I was wearing a decision-making hat, I would think, well, of course I'm going to manage it, but what outcome is the plan asking me to achieve? Because everything I do in terms of dealing with resource management issues involves some form of management, whether it's a resource consenting activity or whatever. So have you given any thought to a word other than managed, one that actually provides a little bit more direction to a decision maker?
To be honest, no, I haven't. But I would also say insignificant is even more ambiguous. So happy to turn my mind to alternatives if the panel would like me to, and appreciate the what you've said there, Chair, around it can be ambiguous and how is this actually applied, noting that is in the heritage chapter rather than the port-specific chapters. So I, again, happy to provide that subsequent to this hearing, some alternative options for you.
Yeah, I think that'll be helpful. That will just certainly enable us and the reporting officers to, I guess, give some good consideration of the issue that you're raising. And I'd be happy for you to talk to Mr. Rawson about wording that's used elsewhere in the 2GP, or if that word managed is used a lot, or if there's alternative wording used, just to give a bit of context, that would be helpful. So I don't need you to do that now, but if you're happy to talk to Mr. Rawson about that, that would be great.
Yeah, happy to do that.
Look, that was the only matters I wanted to ask you about. I think your evidence was pretty clear, and it's always helpful when you show the actual amendments that you're seeking. So that's been good, and I'm sure the officers will take all of that into account when they come back to us and reply. So now I'll just double check if we have any further questions. Sophie, any further questions for the port representatives?
I guess just a question with staff, because I think that did that word come up when we had a submission from, sorry, the word insignificant for heritage buildings, did that come up when we had the university was submitting? Was that also an issue there? It wasn't about minor, wasn't it? Or was it minor or insignificant? Eh?
Little bits of plaster.
Yeah, it was a minor versus, so I wonder if there's some discussion amongst the groups that might be helpful.
Yes, I would have to go back to specifically determine that, but it may have been raised. By then.
Okay.
Just for me, it's just around this definition of port activities versus port. As you mentioned, Strathallan Street, and Port has intentions of an inland port at Mosgiel as well, which will have port activities, but obviously are not mapped in the major facility zone for the port. So I'm not really sure I'm going to say how we're going to handle this, because Strathallan Street's a good example, and what is envisaged at Mosgiel is a good example. They're effectively the same activities that go on at the port, except they're rail transfers. But other than that, they're very much port activities. Do we have anywhere in the district plan where we can capture port activities as an activity, other than in chapter 30, which has a mapped zone to go with it?
Yes, absolutely. We have the port is defined, and port activities are permitted in industrial zones.
Okay, so we do have that. We do have that method right there. So if going, yes. Yeah, cool. Excellent. Thanks. Well, that's it then for me.
All right. Well, thanks very much. Just to the two representatives from the port, anything else you'd like to add at this stage, just by way of conclusion?
Nothing further from me other than thank you for the opportunity today.
You're very welcome. And I'll just check with Mr. Rawson. Mr. Rawson, in terms of the work that you and your colleagues are doing on the reply, when would you need to have the further drafting from the port, from Ms. Pascal, for it to be of use to you?
Well, as soon as possible. We've been actively writing our right of reply, and we value input from the port in that regard, and we have been considering your tabled the evidence as well. So as soon as possible, we are still endeavouring to meet the 5th of September timeframe, but it really depends on this liaison with appellants, how long that takes, and relevant experts. So we're endeavouring to do it by then, but we're unsure whether we'll meet it at this stage. But we'll keep you actively informed by that.
Yep. So, Ms. Pascal, what sort of time frame do you have in mind for doing that bit of further work for us?
Oh, I can certainly achieve.
You need to push your button again.
Probably early next week, if not before then. Obviously, just working around other commitments, but I don't think that'll be too much trouble to achieve your time frame that you've mentioned there.
Right. So if you could look to get it maybe to Mr. Rawson by the close of play on Monday, the 1st of September, if you could aim for that, that would be great.
I think Ms. Dowd might have a few things to say, perhaps.
Not really. I think we did have a discussion beforehand, and that there was some relief that was sought that may have made the applicability of some of those provisions extend beyond and have unintended consequences. So where we have sought changes to provisions, we're really only looking them to apply to the port and not more widely. So I just thought it's worth just reinforcing that point to any of the provisions that Kate has sought amendments to. So again, I'm just understanding those unintended consequences is not our intention for us. But yeah, that's probably the only other point that I'd like to make at this stage.
Thank you, that's helpful. So the amendments you're seeking are very much targeted at the port activities, and you're not looking to by accident have them extend to other activities.
That's correct. Yes, we have had that previously. So I'm just making sure that that's quite clear that that's the intent.
All
Thank
right, well,
you.
that's helpful. So, Mr. Rawson, in the reply then, and should you be recommending to us in light of submissions and evidence any amendments to the provisions relating to the port, can you just take care to make sure that they don't accidentally impinge or activate provisions for other activities as well?
Yes, absolutely.
That's great. All right. Well, I think that brings us to the conclusion of this part of the hearing. So thank you to the Port Company for coming in this morning, and thank you for your submissions and the evidence that you presented, and we look forward to the further work you're going to do. So unless, Mr. Rawson, is there anything else you'd wish to say at this stage? Because we've now concluded from hearing from submitters.
No, not at all. Thank you.
All right, so all that leaves me to do is to adjourn the hearing. For now, we will now await the reply report being prepared by the officers. It's currently being targeted for Friday, the 5th of September. Mr. Rawson's indicated he's hoping to achieve that date, but of course, if he can't, then we'd rather he and his colleagues take the time to do a good job rather than rush to meet, which is a reasonably arbitrary deadline. So once we receive the reply report, the panel members will read and consider it, see if we have any further questions for the officers. If we do, we'll pose them in writing. If we don't have any further questions, which is the more likely outcome, we will then close the hearing and proceed into our deliberations. So thank you very much, everyone, for your attendance today. And if anyone's watching online, we thank you for your attendance earlier in the hearing as well. So we're adjourned, and just to everyone, enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Rob. Same to you.
Thanks, Rob.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks very much.